Hey guys, this is Guy from DIY with Guy with a follow-up video of the toddler Montessori closet video I previously uploaded. If you haven't had the chance to watch that video yet, check out the links in the description below. I know it's been a while since my last video, but with the whole COVID situation, it's becoming harder to find the time to work on stuff or look for the materials that you need. Anyway, in this video I'm going to show you how I like planning for my projects, including a cool little Cutlist trick I picked up from Jay Bates that can save you tons of time and materials when you're planning your cuts. Just a quick teaser, I am working on a welding project now for an entryway bench. Here are a few drafts of how it's supposed to look. I'll probably go with this design, however I'm still practicing my welds, so it'll take a bit more time to get something that both looks good and is strong enough. So let's start. I'm using Sketchup Make 2017 for this, which is the free version of Sketchup. I'm not going to dive into how to install Sketchup as there are many great tutorials online. Also, some of the keyboard shortcuts might be a bit different if you're running Windows, but for the majority of the shortcuts it should be similar. I'll start by selecting the rectangle tool or clicking R on my keyboard. You can find it right here. And I'm going to draw a rectangle from the origin point, somewhere out here, and then I'm going to manually type the sizes that I want. I want this rectangle to be by 18 millimeters by 300 millimeters. And I'm going to hit enter. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude this rectangle to be 1000 millimeters high. I'm going to hit the P key on my keyboard and then I'm going to click here and pull up and type 1000. And now I have my first side, the left side of the closet. Next thing I want to do is make this a component, so I'm going to switch to the select tool with the spacebar, triple click this with the mouse, hit G on my keyboard, and I'm going to call this component sidewall. Next we're going to draw the bottom of the closet. I'm going to click R again for the rectangle, and I'm going to draw from this corner right here, and then I'm going to select the size to be 800 millimeters by 300 millimeters. Let's zoom out a bit. Now I'm going to select the push-pull tool and extrude this by the thickness of 18 millimeters and make the bottom a component. Alright, next thing I want to build is the right wall, the right side of the closet. So I'm going to select this side right in this corner. I'm going to switch to the move tool with M, or by clicking it here on the palette. And I'm going to select the corner and I'm going to start moving it, as I move it I'm going to click the option key once, and what this will do is it will duplicate this component for me. So now instead of one wall I'll have two walls, and then I'm going to zoom out a bit from here, zoom in here, and then as I approach the bottom you can see that it snaps directly to the endpoint. Then I'm going to click again, and now I have my bottom and two sides. I'm going to switch to the orbit tool now so I can get a better look of the next piece that I want to build, which is the top. You can switch to the orbit tool either by clicking here on the palette or clicking the O key on the keyboard. Alright, so let's zoom in here in this corner a bit. I'm going to select rectangle and I'm going to draw the rectangle of the top piece. And you guessed it, I'm going to extrude this by 18 millimeters and make a component out of it. Okay, so now we're pretty much done with the frame, and we're going to move on to the divider. So the divider is going to run in the center. This is an 800 millimeters piece, and my pieces are 18 millimeters thick. So I need to measure 391 millimeters from the edge right here to the center. This will give me the starting point of the divider. So to measure 391 millimeters, I'm going to switch to the tape tool by clicking T on my keyboard. I'm going to measure from the end point here to the center. Then I'm going to type 391, which will give me the exact point of where I need to start drawing my next rectangle. I'm going to switch to R, click on the guide point, and I'm going to draw my rectangle to the other side. Select the dimension 300 by 18, hit enter, and now I'm going to extrude this rectangle all the way to the top and make sure that I snap it to the top right here. Triple click it, hit G to make it a component, call it a divider. Alright, next we have our shelves. So basically we have 3 shelves on the right side and 1 shelf on the left side. So for the first shelf I need to measure exactly 232 millimeters from the bottom. So let's do it. Click here, type 232, hit enter, and this is my first point right here. The first shelf will start here. I'm going to draw a rectangle to the other side. Make sure you go up and not down, otherwise you'll screw up the calculations. And then I'm going to type 18 for the thickness and 300 for the depth. Hit enter and extrude this shelf to the other side. Make sure you snap it to the edge. Select the space bar, triple click, hit G, and name it shelf. Alright, so we need to make 2 more shelves here. So for this I'm going to use a nice feature in Sketchup which enables me to duplicate the pieces. So basically I'm going to select the shelf in the corner with the move tool. I'm going to pull it up a bit. I'm going to clone the first one with the Option key. Now I'm going to hit 250 to space it 250 millimeters from the first shelf. I'm going to hit enter, and now I'm going to type times 2. You can see it right here. Hit enter, and now I have my 3 shelves evenly distanced from each other. Let's just make sure. We have 232 here, 232 here, same here, and the last measurement 232. Great. What just happened? Okay. So let's make the left shelf real quick. I'm going to select this shelf, hit M for the move tool, start moving it, hit Option to duplicate, and snap it to this point. So we're almost done. We only have the hanging rod left. So for the hanging rod, I'm going to zoom here a bit, and I'm going to measure 116 millimeters from the top here. And now to find the center point, I'm going to measure 150 millimeters. And I have my center point right here. This is where I'm going to start drawing the radius of my circle. I'm going to select the circle tool, snap it to the guide point, and start drawing my circle. And now I'm going to type 10 for the radius. A 10 millimeter radius will give us a 20 millimeter diameter. Hit P to extrude it, and I'm going to extrude it all the way to this edge right here. Make sure I snap it. Let's orbit a bit and see if it's okay. Great. Hit spacebar, triple click the hanging rod, hit G to make it a component, and call the component hanging rod. And that's basically it. We have our closet ready, and we can move on to the Cutlist trick that I promised you. Let's start by drawing the sheet that you're working with. This can be either plywood, laminated pine, or whatever. My sheet dimensions are 2440 by 1220. And after drawing it, I'm going to give it the width of 18 millimeters with the push-pull tool. And let's make a component out of it. Next thing you want to do is you want to duplicate your closet. So I'm going to select it real quick, hit M to move it, and while I'm moving it, I'll click the Option key to duplicate it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to dismantle this closet right here and place it on the sheet. We're going to do this from the biggest part to the smallest. This will usually give us the best utilization and less adjustments that we need to do on the table saw. So I'm going to click. The first piece will be a bit tricky, and this will make sense in a second. First I'm going to move it here, and now I'm going to snap it to this corner right here, so it will float right next to the sheet. Let's pan a bit with the pan tool. You can select the pan tool either from here or hitting H for hand on your keyboard. And this is exactly how we want our piece to be. And now we're going to rotate it and allow it to lay flat on the sheet. So we're going to select the rotate tool by clicking Q on the keyboard or selecting it from the palette here. And we need to make sure that we rotate on the green axis. I'm going to select this endpoint right here, and then I'm going to select an arbitrary point somewhere above, hit it again, and I'll start moving my mouse right, and then I'm going to type 90 or 90 degrees. And this is how it should look like now. So let's orbit a bit. Okay, so we have two side pieces which are identical. So I'm not going to move this one, it's too much work. I'm just going to delete it and duplicate this one by selecting the corner right here with the move tool. Move it, duplicate it with control, and snap it to its friend. Next on our list is the divider. I'm going to select it, click M to move it somewhere here, and then I'm going to snap these two endpoints together. Great. And now, like the first piece, the, click this corner, make sure I'm on the green axis, click somewhere up, start moving, type 90, hit enter, and that's it. Alright, next we have the top. Let's select it first, click M, and move it right next to this one. Okay, so at this point I wanted to show you something. You'll notice that we have 2 centimeters buffer left on our sheet. And as you see, I don't calculate the blade's width when I place the pieces on the sheet. This is because I know that my circular saw's width is less than 2 centimeters when I only cut 3 pieces, or 4 pieces if you consider this one as well. Having said that, if you're going to have more rip cuts or cross cuts on your cut list, then you should definitely take this into consideration and make sure that you have enough buffers when you're cutting. Alright, next we have the bottom. Now for the bottom, I'm going to first place it here, and then I'll show you how to realign it to get what I believe is a better, a more optimized cut list. So let's select it and move it. I'm going to attach it here, and now I'm going to focus on the shelves. So we have 4 shelves. So this is one. For the rest of them, I'm just going to duplicate. So let's delete these. And let's duplicate this one. And now we'll duplicate this one here. And let's duplicate another one here. So now we have all of our cuts that we need to do, but this looks like a lot of work. I mean, these are not aligned, and here we're gonna have to do something. We're gonna have to separate them before. We're gonna have to rip cut before we can cross cut. And overall, this does not look good. So let's see if we can optimize it a bit. So let's move all the shelves for a second. And I'm gonna try placing the bottom piece here instead. Let's see how this ends up. So let's delete most of these. We don't need them, we only need one. And let's move our shelf here now. And now we'll try duplicating again. Okay, so this is one. Sorry. Okay, so this is one. And now I'm going to hit the space bar and select this one with shift. So I have both of them selected. Click M and move it here. Now this layout looks much better to me. I mean, basically it allows you to cross-cut and rip-cut these pieces without too many fence adjustments. So now I want to show you a nice way of how to label your measurements. Over here on the left I have the dimension tool. And after selecting it, I can basically start measuring my pieces, and as I measure them, you can see this nice little label that I have here with the size that I measured. So let's see how it looks. Now let me do this real quick. Alright, so now that we labeled all the measurements on our pieces, we can add free text to those labels to help us easily identify which piece belongs to what part of the closet. We can do that by right-clicking on the label, edit text, and then let's move to the end here and type side A. And I can do the same thing for this one. And that's it, we're done with our labeling. You can get this model by visiting my Instructables channel. I'll put a link in the description. If you're using the Imperial system, you can easily convert the units in Sketchup by going to Window, Model Info, Units, and then switch from millimeters to inches. If you edited the label, it probably won't change, but the rest of SketchUp is now converted to the Imperial system. So guys, if you like this video, I really appreciate you giving me a like and subscribing to my channel. Any questions or comments, please write them down in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in the next video.